Hey guys, this is James here from eBassGuitar, and if you're interested in how to play chords on the bass guitar, or even if the bass should be playing chords at all, please do check out this video right the way to the end. Hey guys, James here from eBassGuitar. So I've had a few questions recently about the bass guitar playing chords, or another expression you might hear is double stops. How to do them, or even if we should be doing them at all. So I'm going to answer those questions right now. In my opinion, yes, the bass guitar should play chords, and there are two main reasons for that. The first one is it sounds really cool when we play chords, but that comes with a major health warning, that we've got to play chords in the most appropriate fashion possible. They've got to be done at the right place and at the right time. Otherwise, it can sound very out of place because the bass isn't naturally a chordal instrument. The second reason we should play chords is it improves our harmonic knowledge on the instrument. So someone says to us, okay, can you play a C major 7? We can go and actually voice out what a C major 7 would sound like, for instance, so we can get that sound in the head. So it can really help improve our harmonic knowledge. But first of all, I'm going to tell you a little bit about when and where I think chords are appropriate. This comes down to, first of all, it's completely subjective. It comes down to a certain degree of experience and, of course, taste, and everybody's taste when it comes to music is different. But by and large, where I find chords work really well is when you're working with less musicians. I did a gig on Saturday night which was just a trio, so guitar, bass and drums. So there was lots of space in the band to put the occasional chord in there, for instance, which sounded really cool. It had great musical effect because there was a lot of space. So there was the bass, if you imagine the bass in the mix there, and then the guitar up there, and so there was a lot that we could do to create interest in that respect. However, where you've got to be a little bit more careful is I sometimes do gigs with 8, 10, 12, even up to sort of 16-piece bands. So when you sometimes got two keyboard players at it, so maybe one playing a string part or something like that, one playing a piano part, the sonic kind of space just gets filled really quickly. So if we start playing loads of chords like that, the band can start to sound really muddy. So it's all about space and it's all about context where you choose to play chords, but put at the right moment at the right time, I think they sound fabulous. One of my favourite bass players ever plays a lot of chords, a guy called Colin Hodgkinson. He's an English guy from a band called Backdoor from the 1970s here, and that was a prime example. There was no real guitar or chords in the mix, so he was playing a lot of kind of stuff like that where he could almost be a bit of a guitarist at that point. So that's a prime example of when it can work. So yes, we should play chords, and I'm going to show you a few chords just in a little while in this lesson. The second point, as I touched on earlier, is to improve our harmonic knowledge. So we have 4 strings and we can voice out up to 4-note chords. By and large, we tend to play more like 2 to 3 note chords on the bass, but we can, if you think that our average chord will have 3 to 4 notes, maybe more in it, we can actually voice these out in the instrument and get a feel for the sound. Obviously, if we go into super extended chords with 9s, 11s, 13s, etc., it can start to, we don't have the instrument doesn't allow it. But sort of up to major 7s, possibly 9s, that kind of thing, we can get in. So let me just give an example of this. So say I have a chord sequence, C major 7, A minor 7, D7, G7. I could actually voice this out here. So I'm going to go, okay, C major 7, okay, A minor 7, D minor 7, okay, and then to G7 there. So say I wanted to get a feel for a bass line which worked over C major 7. I could go like that, and then I could go, and then just remind myself of what that kind of harmony sounds like. So that is a great sort of educational tool to learn more about harmony and what the rest of the band is doing. So Well, I want to send you away having actually played some chords today. So I'm going to show you today one of the most common chords that we as bass players play, and this is a thing called tenths. So let me just play it so you can hear what it sounds like. It's okay, and in some respects tenths are pretty unique to the bass. You don't really hear them so much in other instruments, but what we are doing is we are playing the interval of a tenth. If you remember, about a standard chord is always a root, a third and a fifth. We can play these on the bass, so if I was to play G here, so G, B, D, like that. Okay, so there are notes, but that kind of sounds a little bit muddy, okay, like that. The most important notes in that chord are the G and the B, the root, okay, because that gives us our foundation, and our third, and that tells us whether it's major or minor. The fifth can get left out. It's sort of like an optional note, especially when you go more into jazz, they're leaving fifths out the whole time. I kind of like to think of it as ballast in there. It works, it kind of adds to the foundation of the chord, but doesn't really give us actually that much information. So if we take out that, okay, so we just got the G and the B in there, okay? All right, so that kind of sounds okay. I'm gonna put it down the octave. That sounds really muddy, but what we can do is we can put that B up the octave, like that. So, and then we get that sound there, okay? And okay, that sound from that tune, what is it? Name's escaping, Walk on the Wild Side, okay? It's a classic tenth sound, and why it's called tenths, let me explain that. If we go up the scale, so root, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, and then if we just carry on going 9 and the 10, if you remember we go up the octave there, so that's the 10th, so root and 10. And so we can get these tenths, and they essentially can be major or minor, so we can do a major tenth like that, or we could do a minor tenth like that, and we can move these all over the fingerboard, okay? And they're the kind of things that I might say throw in at the end of a song. So we have the, okay, that's an example where I might particularly use it because it adds a bit of grunt to the end of a song, for instance. So let's move these tenths around, and you can hear me here switching from major to minor tenths, okay? So how do we go around working out whether we should play a major tenth or a minor tenth? So I'll show you the shape of a major tenth is that there, and then we just pull it back, so 1 fret up on the across onto the G string, or okay, literally straight across like that, okay? So how do we go around working about this? The simplest way is we literally just carry on kind of up the scale. So if I was to go to this, we're in the key of G major, I'm going to play a G major scale starting on the G string. So okay, straightforward G major scale. And this will give us the notes that we can choose from a major or minor tenth. So that's our first one, so G, A, B, okay? And if we were to carry on, that will give us our next note, so we then choose the second down there, okay? And if we go to the third, that we can get that there, and then we can get, and then we have another minor. So we've had major, minor, minor, okay? So we get the fourth and the sixth. Another way you can work this out is a little bit, I guess, more mathematically. So you always have the root and the third. So 1 and 3, 2 and 4, 3 and 6. And so you can start to see the pattern there. You can do the same with the letter names. So you can have G and B, A and C. So there's always B and D. So there's always a gap of one, I guess, letter or one interval in between it. The other way you can do it is to actually just listen to the sounds as well. Once you get really familiar with the major scale, your ear will start leading you. Your ear will start leading you to whether you should be playing a major or a minor 10th. We kind of get conditioned very much to the sound of the major scale. So a good little, I guess, a little tune if you want to practice playing these. I always used to practice playing these. There used to be a cartoon in the UK. I'm sure it must have been American, and I've got no idea how far it travelled around the rest of the world. It was called the Rugrats, and this was of the theme tune. It was actually done on the piano in thirds, but it works really nicely on the bass. So it went. Okay, so you can see how you can get that tenths, and that's a nice little tune which will start to help you choose whether you're playing the right major or the minor 10th. There is one other thing that I'm just gonna throw in at the end of this lesson. When you're playing chords, there's a harmonic, I guess, principle which dates all the way back to the time of Bach and classical music. Is that you have the root note, and then what sounds good to our ears, kind of in a traditional sense of good, if you see what I mean, because in music there's always exceptions, is to have your root note and then a big gap, and then you have, say, 2, 3, possibly more, 4 chords up here. If you look at a piano player, they always do that, big gap, and then the chords up at the top. And as I said, this really dates back to kind of Bach and Handel and all those early composers from the sort of 1800s kind of, if not earlier, sort of time. And the same goes with the bass. So this is why a 10th sounds really good, because there is literally a big gap between the notes. We can take this to a bit more of an extreme. We could do a 10th there between E and G sharp, but if we wanted to, yeah, you can start to hear how that becomes even more pleasing to our ear. But obviously we start to get slight limitations to the instrument, because we only have so many open strings and our hands are only so big. So that is the end of today's lesson. So just to recap, should you even play chords? Yes, yes, yes. They're a great sound, and when used correctly on the bass, they can really start to spice up your bass lines, and you can get some really interesting sounds in there. Should you use them to learn harmony? Yes, completely. So if you get a complicated chord sequence or just a chord sequence, you could try and start working out on the bass. It's perfectly possible to do that. But remember, we're not here to replace the role of the guitarist or the keyboard player. Our role is to play bass, so do use chords sparingly. If you've enjoyed this lesson, please do comment below. Please also comment and tell me what the most valuable thing that you've got from this lesson is. I'd love to hear your comments below. Please do like and share on social. I've been James here from eBassGuitar.com. I'll catch you next time. As always, keep grooving, guys. Cheers for now.